So Battlefield 6 just dropped a huge announcement about what the rest of this year is basically going to be looking like for this game. You know, everybody has kind of been wondering for a while, is Battlefield 6 going to change things up? Are they going to kind of keep doing things the same way? Is the game going to continue to disappoint players, or are they actually going to address a ton of the huge problems that people have had so far with this game? Now, it does look like there's a lot of new stuff that we're going to be seeing here in the next coming seasons, some pretty big kind of changes, and they have addressed a ton of the major things that players have been kind of complaining about the whole time for the most part. So this does seem pretty interesting, and I think if they do this correctly, if it's implemented the right way, if it's done properly, if they don't just kind of keep pushing things off or not really addressing players, it could be a really good thing for this game. Now, unfortunately, I do wish that this had been sort of something done from the onset of the release of Battlefield 6, but I suppose you could say better late than never. Anyways, there's a ton of detail to kind of go through here for today's video, but before we do that, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications set to all so you can stay up to date with all of the content here on the channel, and let's just get right on into it. So first things first, basically what they're saying is that they've been testing a lot of stuff in Battlefield Labs and have heard the biggest complaints from players and are going to be sort of implementing what people have been saying over the next couple of seasons. So this roadmap doesn't include the individual season roadmaps. It's just kind of a broad overview of the highlights of what we can expect to see within season 3 and 4. Season 5, they kind of teased a little bit here of what we're going to see, but they haven't really explained everything just yet. They did say though that there is a hint here of what we might be seeing in season 5. Some people have speculated that this artwork is a reflection of maybe something like Shanghai, so maybe a Siege of Shanghai type map. Doesn't seem like they're just porting one-to-one. It does look like they are making some changes, so maybe this will be a little bit different. But anyways, for season 3, the biggest highlight is the Golmud Railway remake. So they're calling this one Railway to Golmud. This is going to be Battlefield 6's largest map yet, and there are some pretty big differences apparently between this one and the original, especially when it comes to the actual train. I think it's more interactive this time. It's supposed to be more balanced, I think, for vehicle gameplay. They have been testing that apparently. We did get a glimpse at some of the Golmud gameplay from the official videos that they've posted. It does look pretty interesting. This definitely does look like a much larger map. There have been some images circulating around on Reddit and things like that showing the bounds of this map. It does look like a pretty large one. It does also seem like it's gonna flow differently compared to what we've had so far. I'm really hoping that it does have a different feel compared to the previous maps. The second map that we're getting in season 3 is going to be Cairo Bazaar. So this is the updated Grand Bazaar from Battlefield 3. Yeah, this is a really small map, you know, based off of what we're seeing from the gameplay. It's not going to be a large map, but you know, Golmud Railway is, or the Railway to Golmud is going to be a huge map. You know, it's going to include everything. So I think that that's not bad for balance. Obviously, I wish that we had larger maps constantly from the start, but you know, this is a step in the right direction because apparently in season 4, there's going to be a map that's, I think they say like 4 times larger than the Railway to Golmud one or something crazy like that. But anyways, I'll get into that in a minute. But for now, yeah, there's going to be Cairo Bazaar, and then they're going to be launching stuff for RedSec. So if you do play RedSec, we're getting ranked play and solos for Battle Royale. There's also going to be leaderboards, new weapons, modes, other sort of content. They're saying that the ranked stuff, that it's kind of being sort of tested out in a way in RedSec, and that they might apply that to multiplayer later. Not sure how that's going to be. You know, if you do like that ranked stuff, there is going to be Battle Royale ranked and solos, which is definitely something that I think a lot of people have been wanting. I personally would have played RedSec more from the start had there actually been solos, but the ranked Battle Royale is just for quads for right now. Now, season 4 is, I think, the one that I personally am a little more excited for here because we are actually finally going to be getting naval content. I know a while back we saw some leaks that seemed to indicate that it might be a season 3 thing, but it seems like it has been pushed to season 4. But something interesting to note here before I actually get into the content, season 3 is going to drop in May, but season 4 is going to be dropping in July. So this is actually pretty different because we're getting shorter seasons. So it seems like season 3 is going to be just 2 months, and maybe season 4 is just 2 months. I think if that's the case, it would definitely make the pacing of these seasons a lot better, because right now the 3-month kind of 3 update cycle thing just isn't really working because we're getting like 2 maps and then a lot of downtime. So if they can just push more updates, I think that that might be much better for balancing. Of course, I wish that we had more than just 2 maps a season, but if we're getting a map a month, every month, then that makes a lot more sense than just getting 2 maps, then nothing, then 2 maps, then nothing, you know what I mean? So that's kind of how I view it. Let me know what you guys think about that in the comments below. But in the Naval content update, we're going to be getting 2 maps. So one of them is called Suru Reef, I believe that's how you'd pronounce it. And the other one is, of course, Wake Island, which everybody knows what Wake Island is. Naval warfare stuff is also going to be in RedSec as well. But for the most part, these maps do kind of, you know, mix different forms of combat together. So that does look really interesting. There's also going to be custom lobbies, spectator mode, and new weapons modes and other sorts of content. Obviously, you know, battle passes and all that. So basically with the naval combat, we're going to be getting aircraft carriers, operational flight decks, new naval vehicles, a dynamic wave system. So a little bit of a different flow to the game. I think this will probably be my favorite update in the game. And then they're saying season 5 is going to get a holiday surprise with 3 maps as the final season of 2026. So we know that now. 2026 is going to end off with season 5. 2027 might probably get more seasons then if that's the case. But in terms of content, I'm hoping personally that, you know, they do a little more than just the limited time stuff. You know, these maps are definitely, I would say, the right direction to be taking for this game. Larger maps, more variety, those sorts of things. Getting 3 maps, I hope that maybe with the season 5 thing, that we get 3 maps from now on in the other seasons. I'm just hoping that, you know, they don't really just follow what they did with seasons 1 and 2. It does seem like they are considering doing things differently, so we'll have to see how they do it with season 3. I think that that's really going to be a defining point for how this game is going to feel from now on. But obviously, aside from content, you know, they addressed the other huge issues that people have been having, right? Which is netcode, hit registration, you know, that sort of stuff, audio, those sorts of things. So the first thing here they said are that there's going to be quality of life updates. So they're going to be improving community connections by including a server browser with persistent servers. Finally, that should have been there from the beginning. Multiplayer leaderboards, platoons, proximity chat, those sorts of things. So finally, proximity chat as well. They said that we should expect combat tuning alongside the introduction of new weapons, soldier visibility, matchmaking improvements, and further changes to challenges and progression. But they said that based on community feedback, they are going to be redrawing the lines of Battlefield and are going to be reworking and enhancing New Sobek City and Blackwell fields to raise the quality bar for both those maps. This is a pretty big one because I would say that of all the maps that I have kind of interacted with and of all the maps that the community has reacted to, these 2 have definitely been some of the more split. Like, a lot of people seem to hate Blackwell fields, a lot of people seem to either love or hate New Sobek City. I feel like there's no in between there, but hopefully these reworks really do redefine how these maps feel, you know, the air boundaries, especially for Blackwell fields. I'm curious to know what they mean by reworks, because that to me is probably one of the more exciting parts of this roadmap here. So aside from that, they're saying that there's going to be community updates, you know, dev notes, those sorts of things, which we cover here on the channel. And then they're saying that Battlefield Labs is going to be getting a lot more stuff throughout this year because they're going to be testing everything as much as possible. So they are saying that based on the feedback, the maps are going to be large scale, and they said that we're not done yet. There's more to come in 2026. So hopefully, you know, they actually improve this game. I feel like at this point, DICE has kind of proved that the first couple of months is just like, you know, you kind of have to brace through it at this point, because every single Battlefield game I feel has had this exact same scenario happening where the first couple of months are just like garbage and then they fix everything and all of a sudden it's the best game ever. I have no idea if they're gonna do the same thing here with Battlefield 6. At this point, I guess it's sort of expected, but you know, hopefully this game actually does improve, because I do feel like at its core, Battlefield 6 has a lot of potential. It could be a great game if they just improved these sorts of things that they're saying they're going to be improving. So we'll just have to wait and see how these next couple of months kind of change the game up. It'll be interesting if they can actually deliver on everything they're saying and improve the overall Battlefield 6 experience. But let me know in the comments below how you're feeling about all of this. If, you know, some of these details that you've heard here are enough to get you to come back if maybe you haven't been playing for some time. Leave a like, share, subscribe, and turn on notifications set to all so you can stay up to date with all of the content here on the channel. And that's all for today, folks.